The proof of work chain is a solution to the Byzantine general's problem. Satoshi Nakamoto. Welcome back to What is Your Bitcoin Story, the podcast where we explore the incredible journey of those who have leaped deep down the rabbit hole. I'm your host, Gigi, and today we have the pleasure of being joined by Luke the Wolf. He's the co-host of the popular Bitcoin podcast, the Bitcoin Infinity Show, previously known as the Freedom Footprint Show, which has been widely acclaimed for its in-depth analysis of the Bitcoin ecosystem and the impact on society. Additionally, he's one of the co-authors of a newly released book, Bitcoin, the Inverse of Clown World, which he co-authored together with Knut Svanholm. Today, we will hear the story of Luke's personal journey down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and everything else that has followed ever since. Luke, welcome to the show.
Hi, Gigi. Thanks a lot for having me. Thanks for the great introduction. Happy to be here.
It's a pleasure having you on. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you with the launch of the Bitcoin Inverse Clown World book. It's awesome to have a brand new reading, and I see it there peeking behind your left shoulder. So yeah, big congrats on that one, man.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely check it out if you liked Bitcoin, Everything Divided by 21 Million. This is sort of the successor. And yeah, Knut and I wrote it together, and there's a lot of jokes, humor, toxicity. It's definitely meant for a Bitcoin audience. So check it out if you haven't. Amazon, bitcoininfinity.com, you can find it there too. But yeah, let us know what you think. We appreciate all the comments and feedback.
Well, we will definitely have it in the show notes. I know about Amazon, but we'll lead to your main website. I think that's the best way to funnel the people there. But yeah, definitely go ahead and get it. I'm yet to read it myself, but yeah, I've been a big fan of all the prior books, and I love your guys' humor. I think you and Knut do an amazing job to bring in that humor aspect to the Bitcoin podcast scene and generally the community. So I'm really looking forward to it. I was actually planning to be with you guys in Riga last month to celebrate the launch of the book and of course be there for the Bitcoin Infinity Day, which was the perfect time essentially to launch the book. But yeah, being a father, I had some family things come up and I wasn't able to make it. So family unfortunately comes first and then Bitcoin and everything else follows. But the beautiful thing is Bitcoin Infinity Day happens every August 20. I'm planning next one of 2025 to be there with you guys in Riga. So hopefully we'll celebrate the next one together.
Fantastic. Yeah, I completely agree with that. We have no idea exactly where it's going to be because Riga, and originally we had no idea where we were going to do Infinity Day, and Riga usually was a bit later, a couple of weeks later, early September. But it just so happened that they put the conference with their Noob Day on Infinity Day, and so I mean it's perfect that we go spend the entire week there. I mean we love Baltic Honey Badger and Hodl Hodl, Debify, what those guys are doing, Max and Anna, like they're fantastic, putting on a great conference every year. But if it's when it usually is, which is a little bit later in the year, early September, we would do it somewhere else. So but yeah, just keep an eye out. It's probably going to be somewhere in the European range because that's where we're both based. But definitely we're going to be doing something every year for Bitcoin Infinity Day. And I saw that you celebrated in your own specific fashion.
We did. We've got it here. We've got it marked on the hand.
Absolutely fantastic. I know Knut ever since we got together has been showing me like all the tattoos and everything. And I mean it's such a great symbol. It doesn't mark you out as a Bitcoiner exactly, but if you know, right?
I'm waiting for that moment when someone in the wild will come up to me and go, "Oh my God, you're a Bitcoiner," because having the Bitcoin symbol is kind of two shades. Everybody would be like, "Oh, that's a Bitcoin." But as you said, Luke, if you know, you know. So it's a little bit more subtle. And at the end of the day, it's the truth, right? Everything divided by 21 million. Sooner or later, people will have to come to it. So it's a nice also conversation starter because I haven't got it yet. It's only been 2 weeks. But when I showed it to my mother, she was like, "Oh, I can just imagine how many people are going to be asking you, what does that mean?" And that's like the best opening. Like, oh, let's sit down, let's talk about Bitcoin. So it's a great talker on that point.
Absolutely. I mean, I tend to wear an Everything Divided cap these days for the same reason. It's not quite so obvious, but yeah, it's easy to wear around and see if people notice or recognize. So of course, with Bitcoiners, I had just the other day there were these Nostriga shirts
Yeah.
that they were giving out during Nostriga. It's the NOSTR.world group. They put on a fantastic conference. I mean, it seems like these Nostr conferences are going to be all over the world.
The world.
Seems like Australia is currently leading for the next one, at least that's in the public GitHub where they're discussing the next location. Yeah, Australia would be awesome. It's a long way from Europe, but this is all to say I'm not totally sure I'll be able to make it absolutely every single official Nostr conference, but would love to. It was a fantastic time. But anyway, so we had these shirts, and then I was getting together with some other Bitcoiners here in Finland, and yeah, another guy was like, yeah, I have the same shirt on. Yeah, so it's like, when you're with Bitcoiners, it's the apparel and everything is a little easier to be wearing the same thing or have the same kind of apparel or merchandise or something. But to so-called normies who have no idea, then it's maybe a nice conversation starter or what is this, what is that? But, yeah.
True. And you actually, since you mentioned it, and that was my questions that I had lined up, but maybe before we get into your journey, just to finish off our intro opening talk regarding Nostriga, it was interesting that this year it was the first time, well, it was the third Nostr conference, but it was kind of intertwined with the Baltic Honey Badger, which is essentially one of the most OG Bitcoin conferences there is, like the small niche that the true doers are there. It's not this overexposed 20,000 people, Lambos and everything. It's very humble and one of the greatest ones, at least what I heard from my circle. And the fact that it was intertwined with Nostriga, so like it was a full week of, you kicked it off, guys, with the celebration of the book launch and then straight into 2 days of Nostriga. How was that for you, being there and experiencing it?
Oh, that week was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, full credit to all of the organizing teams. And actually, I'll give credit as well to Wizard of Oz. He runs the Noob Day every year at Honey Badger. And that was actually the first thing that was on the calendar. So that's what really kicked off Riga Bitcoin Week. And then we had our party. This was at the Basement Bar in Riga. Fantastic place, absolutely great people, and it was really cool. We had all of our we had these posters and stuff all over in a big banner and stuff. And
so even the barman was wearing the T-shirt, right?
Exactly. It was funny because we actually had sent all of our shirts. The guy who was, I guess, collecting all the packages from people was actually the owner of the bar, and so we just had all of our shirts at the bar, and we said, take. It would be awesome if the bartenders could wear some of the shirts, and they grabbed Inverse of Clown World shirts instead of Everything Divided shirts. That was our initial idea, but we thought it was just absolutely awesome that it was like this Clown World thing, and so there's a lot of cool stuff happened that evening, stuff that necessarily isn't mine to share or to post or whatever, but it's kind of like you had to be there. But there was stuff going on with Uncle Rockstar, and Knut was inducted into the Uncle Network with also Island, so Uncle Island, and it was just a really successful night. It rained really hard, and for it being a basement, it caused a little bit of trouble. I guess they have a drainage system or something, but it was a great evening, lots of fun, and then straight into Nostriga. I mean, this was fantastic. So I mean, it was in the same space as Baltic Honey Badger, but as I understand it, it was sort of, technically it's other people running it kind of thing, but everyone was helping out each other as I understand it, both teams. And so shout out to Marse, and I mean, Jack is the ultimate
Jack is the man.
He's like, this is he's open about it, like he funds these Nostr conferences, and
personally, I mean, which is insane.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, but it was a fantastic time, and it's great to see the support. I mean, Nostr is really where the development in Bitcoin, I think, can correctly channel the energy of people who want to build stuff and break things and everything. Well, you can do it on Nostr. There's no stakes to that. Nostr is entirely voluntary, and this is awesome. It's a protocol, and you can opt into whatever parts of it that you want. And so you, as the user, have control of your NSEC, your private key, and you can choose which apps you decide to interact with your private key, right? And then those apps decide which parts of the protocol that they're going to implement. And so then you can get these Twitter-like applications like your Primals or Domuses or something like that. But then you can get tons of other apps that just use the same web of trust underlying protocol but they look a lot different because they actually do a lot of different things. And so I really enjoyed seeing the developers there. One interview that we did from NOSTR was with Derek Ross, who I think is just one of the best NOSTR advocates out there. And I mean,
He's
it was
coming on the
a
show actually in
fantastic.
2-3 weeks. So yeah, I
Yeah,
can't wait
good.
to grill down Noster stuff and share it with my audience as well too.
Exactly, and that's the whole point, is that it was really enlightening to hear more, and so our show has been going really hard on being as Noster focused as we possibly can, because
Nice.
decentralizing communication is, I hesitate to say just as important as decentralizing money. They're both really important, and so I mean, Noster, Bitcoin, it's not like they're the same technology, but they are intertwined, and so
They
I mean,
go
it's
hand in hand.
hand in hand. Yeah, exactly. And then of course Baltic Honey Badger itself was fantastic as always. Great speakers, lots of great talks. I mean, we were so busy. We had our book stand, and we were doing interviews and stuff. And again, thanks to the organizers for helping us find a space. Really appreciated it. The interviews coming out of that, I think they're our best ever. So yeah, thank you again to the organizers. But the conference itself, the talks that I saw were all fantastic. The closing panel was just unreal, like with Odell, Max Kai. I'm blanking on the other partner from 1031. I apologize, but then of course
Odell.
both Jacks and all this. No, Odell was there, but another partner from 1031 was there. I'm forgetting his name. I apologize, but no, that closing panel was just fantastic, and Jack and Odell was fantastic, and
Yeah, the fireside chat was amazing. I watched that online. I
Yeah.
couldn't get through all the stuff yet. Like I'm going on vacation next week, so I've got like a whole list of talks and panels that I want to watch because it looks really good. It looks really good.
Exactly. But the bottom line is, it's just a completely fantastic conference, and capped off with BTC Pay Server Day. Unfortunately, we didn't make it. It was the end of a really long week, and it was a bit slow moving on that that Monday. By the time we'd be able to get to the venue, we'd have to be leaving to the airport already. But no, I mean, it was really long, but it almost felt too short. Like I really enjoyed just being there for that whole week. Highly recommend it. You know, as said, I don't know if there's going to be a NOSTR conference attached to it in the future, but yeah, I'll always be at Baltic Honey Badger as long as it's going on. Basically, it's I mean, it's in my neighborhood anyway. Riga is close by, so
it's
no
just down the road, right? So you just catch a bus.
45-minute flight. So yeah, that's faster.
And regarding, so NOSTR conferences, the first one I believe was in Costa Rica, and then the second one was in Japan. Did you go to those as well, or this?
That's too far to travel. I wish. I mean, I think I'll definitely make it out to. I think it's more likely I'll make it out to Latin America in the near future than to Asia. It's just too far. Australia is also on my list. So I mean, if they attach it to, for example, Bitcoin Alive next year, I mean, I think that would be something really cool. I could manage that definitely. But you know, I mean, the Bitcoin world, it's great that we're all connected online.
Yeah,
but seeing each other in person is
a whole different story.
Else. Yeah, I believe in the power of us all meeting in person. And I mean, like to your point, you said where it's sort of like the doers and everything. This is who goes to Baltic Honey Badger. Yeah, like Honey Badger is sort of the industry internal conference kind of thing. Its goal isn't to grow Bitcoin adoption outside of the conference in the local area. And there are plenty of conferences that do this extremely well, that are really just like focused on their local area and their local communities. And we need those. And prominent Bitcoiners who are doing things in the space should, I think, really consider going to these conferences that are more local focused and all this, just because it helps to grow the pie. And when we grow the pie, everyone wins. But then of course you get the massive conferences such as the Bitcoin conferences that are from BTC Media and stuff.
Like the Nashville, which is a bit crazy.
Nashville, Amsterdam, totally. I haven't been to one of those yet, and I don't know if they're exactly my style. But BTC Prague and Bitcoin Atlantis were both pretty perfect, if I'm honest. I love those. those conferences. Prague is fantastic. Martin and Matthias do a fantastic job there, and I mean they're kind of doing both. They're doing this big spectacle thing, but growing adoption and being good for networking. Also the Plan B guys, their Plan B forums. There's so many great conferences. There's so many great ones to go to. It's hard to narrow down exactly the ones to go to. So for my part, I'm pretty set with conferences in the European region, but North America, Latin America, I think that's coming, and always happy to
Amazing. Well, yeah, to me also, my first Bitcoin only conference was October of 2023 in Amsterdam, which was the Bitcoin Magazine conference, where I actually met Knut for the first time in person, and a bunch of other Bitcoiners I've been following for a long time. So it was kind of a surreal moment. Like, I really enjoyed it, but everybody that I was speaking to there and I was asking their opinions about the conference, they're like, yeah, it's good, but they're like, it's not BTC Prague. And like, everybody was talking about BTC Prague. And I met Matthias actually there in person. I got introduced, and he actually was gracious enough to give me a ticket to come to this year's, it was this year, June, BTC Prague. And that was a whole nother like experience. It felt like a school reunion of like friends that you haven't seen in so long, and it's just like the vibe and the fact that there were so many people, like it was grand, but at the same time it felt very cozy, like a big family, which was amazing. So next year for sure I'll be at BTC Prague 1,000,000%, and hopefully followed by that will be Baltic Honey Badger, since I didn't make it this year. And then the third one, which you mentioned also, and I heard so much, which was the
Bitcoin Atlantis.
Bitcoin Atlantis, yeah, correct. That's only happening every halving, right? So that's another 3 years to go. So yeah, we'll put it in the books. Actually, that was another event that I was planning to go to, but since it was 1st of March, and my eldest daughter was born on a leap year, 29th of February, 2020. And 1st of March, we're actually celebrating her actual first birthday. It was the birthday party. There was no way. Once again, family got in the way. Like these conferences are not ideally placed, but as we discussed this with Knut, he goes, well, for the next one, bring her along, because she'll be old enough. She'll be turning 8. So the next one, I'll take the whole family. The whole girl party will come with Gigi to Madeira. So I'm looking forward to that when the time comes.
She'll be turning 2.
She'll be turning 2. Yeah, correct. We joked about, Knut said, I've got a halving baby. He goes, she perfectly reflects with the halving cycle. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah,
so fun.
So let's jump into the opening question. We're like 15 minutes in, which is very unorthodox to the podcast, but I like switching things around, and I'm sure the listeners will enjoy and get some tips on when to go and kind of what to do next when it comes to Bitcoin conference. So thanks, Luke, for sharing that with everyone. So let's hit it off, Luke. Where does your Bitcoin journey begin? Take us right to the start of it.
Absolutely. So I'm from Canada originally, and my Bitcoin journey starts in Canada. And some of the groundwork for this, for me being kind of primed to pick up Bitcoin, was that I'm actually from Alberta, and I've been seeing a lot of great Bitcoiners from Alberta talk about how they identify more as Albertan than Canadian, and I definitely share that sentiment. There's some absolutely fantastic Bitcoiners from Canada, and I unfortunately did not pick up on Bitcoin while I was still based in Canada. I started to really hear about it and go down the rabbit hole as I was in the process of moving from Canada to Finland. And so Finland is where I'm based now, and intend to be for the foreseeable future, for sure. Not out of necessarily that Canada was a bad place to live or anything like that, but I'm just at home here now. But the thing with Canada, Alberta specifically, was that there was a lot of Alberta is the home of the oil industry in Canada, and the energy industry generally, and a lot of Canada's money basically comes from the industries that are really active in Alberta. But the way the Canadian government is set up is that they distribute a lot of the money from the wealthier provinces to the less wealthy provinces. And this is a system where, okay, if you sign up for this and you kind of understand that this is all one big country and we're all in this together, blah, 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 okay, that's nice enough. But the problem was that the Trudeau government, Justin Trudeau, was really, really against the oil industry in any form, really environmental angle, but completely missing the point, essentially. Canada's oil industry is a really big economic driver for the country generally, but also energy is good. There's no such thing as a as a rich, low energy country. Having energy is a good thing, and you can take whatever angle you want about climate change. I believe climate change is happening, and it's probably caused by humans. What I don't at all believe is the catastrophism around that, what this is actually going to cause. Like, there are some changes happening, and the world will have to adapt, but the catastrophism and that we have to go back to basically the Stone Age in order to so-called save the planet, it just makes absolutely no sense to me. But also, coming from a part of the world where the energy industry is so important, I was starting my career in a time of real uncertainty. It was hard to know if anyone would have a job, because companies were just having such a hard time. They could lay people off at a moment's notice. Basically, no one had any security. And so that ultimately was the environment where, after the COVID lockdowns came into place as well, just it seemed really tough if anything were to go wrong, that my wife and I, maybe we don't get to keep our house, maybe we have trouble paying all of our bills, this and that. And so we get the opportunity to move halfway across the world, and yeah, long story short is we take that adventure. And in the middle of all this, so what primed me for Bitcoin, really, growing up in this environment, was just seeing the way governments are so, they can be so against their own people, basically, and that the financial systems can be weaponized against people. This was before the Canadian trucker protests, but the Trudeau government was really extremely bad for Canada, for Canadians, but very much also so, more so for Albertans and Western Canadians specifically. So I hope Canada can take some steps to get out from underneath Justin Trudeau. There's an election coming up, but honestly, there are groups that are aiming for the independence of Alberta, and I support that wholeheartedly. Personally, I think that would be a good thing for everyone. More decentralization is a good thing. But okay, I mean, this is a preamble for, that's what primed me for Bitcoin. So when the crypto market in 2021, and yes, I used the bad word, but it was
It
crypto.
is what it is.
Exactly. It was crypto that I first saw. Back in 2017, my office had been into Ethereum, and I'd bought some Ethereum and all this. But as soon as the hype died down, I forgot about it, stopped buying, and yeah, basically the little bit that I had in Coinbase of Ethereum had 10x'd back in 2020. So it's like, okay, I'm finally curious about this thing, and I saw it as a lifeline, as a way out. I was not orange pilled yet. I didn't have any idea about Bitcoin, but I definitely saw that crypto was hot and it was going up and everything. And maybe this is a way that I can put my money somewhere that when I move across the world, it's a little easier to move it. Okay, fine. But then what it took was, so I've been a big fan of some of the mainstream bro podcasters, Joe Rogan, being one of them, Jocko Willink. I've also been really influenced by Jordan Peterson, and I ended up doing a series with Robert Breedlove on his show on this. I'm sort of spoiling the ending, actually. Lex Friedman was another one that I watched a lot, and he ended up having a lot of crypto people on his show. And so, okay, I'll take a look, and I'll watch. I'll see what they have to say. And all of the actual crypto people were talking about this token or that token and this use case or that use case. It was okay. I found it interesting, but back then I even started to see, like, what's going on here? Like, what's
a
actually
bunch of BS.
Exactly. What's the point here, right? But I mean, I have empathy for people who get into crypto and don't take the orange pill yet because they haven't been in front of the right people. There's a lot of hype, and there are a lot of arguments. There's a lot of Bitcoin bashing for sure. When some Bitcoin advocates made it onto Lex's podcast, and what's funny is this was Anthony Pompliano, Nick Carter, and Rob Breedlove. And yeah, you laugh because basically Pomp and Nick Carter have taken themselves completely out of the equation here. They're not really Bitcoiners anymore. But at the time, they were advocating for Bitcoin on this pod. And I mean, Rob has had his own issues with public relations and all this, but he's still a committed Bitcoiner as far as I'm concerned. And the thing that got me was absolutely his episode where he talked about that Jordan Peterson was a big influence of his, and this also worked with the philosophy of Bitcoin. It was my first touch point with sort of a different angle at what all of this meant, and I knew I had to learn more. And so, I mean, the easy long story short of this one is that I found the Sailor series on the What Is Money show, and that was it. That was my orange pill. I watched that probably 2-3 times in succession. At the time, I think it was 9 or 10 episodes, and yeah, just uh, consumed that, listened to every word, and I was convinced. It took me a while to completely shed all of the crypto stuff, but I was convinced about Bitcoin. And over time, I got into more content. Peter McCormack's show, What Bitcoin Did, now suddenly wrapping up here, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And like the TFTC guys, Matt and Marty, and all this, like Daniel Prince, just finding all this Bitcoin content. I looked into that, and every once in a while they would have people on that sort of had more exposure or experience to, for example, Ethereum or other crypto stuff, and they actually like the point of those people being on was to explain why they were now not doing that and into Bitcoin and everything. And so it eased me out of Bitcoin being the primary part of a balanced portfolio to being like, okay, I'm all in. So I wasn't.
Bitcoin is the portfolio.
Exactly. I didn't take the orange pill and then instantly become a super toxic maxi, but I was there. The Sailor series convinced me to start adopting Bitcoin, and then over time, just learning more and deepening my understanding, I became all in. And so this was now 2022, somewhere in 2022, January 2022 is where I sold off all of my crypto and put it all into Bitcoin, and I think that would mostly be now I'm a Bitcoiner kind of thing. But so I mean, we're talking less than 3 years now currently when we're recording, and I knew I wanted to do something in Bitcoin, but I had no idea where to start. I didn't even know about Bitcoin Twitter at the time. Yeah, it's just funny. Like looking back, a lot of the things that kind of pulled me in, it's like I don't know how people outside of the Bitcoin bubble actually properly hear about Bitcoin. There are so many avenues now, people dedicated to education and all this, but for me it took people being on these big podcasts, and I was active on Reddit at the time as well, a total nim account, but there's the cryptocurrency Reddit and then the Bitcoin Reddit and all this, and so I didn't know anything about Twitter. There's not much activity going on Reddit, but I was getting content and looking at articles and consuming things, but I wasn't connecting with people. I mean, I think a big thing is that funneling people to where the conversation actually is really important, and NOSTR is actually great for that now, because it's pretty easy. You can just now say, here's this protocol where you can just download the Primal app or the Damus app or whatever, Amethyst, whatever you want, and now this is where a lot of the Bitcoin signal actually is. And of course Twitter still has a lot of people on there that haven't migrated over, and there's good conversations and stuff, but I think it's pretty easy to say, well, just go look into this NOSTR thing, and there's good conversations, good content. You won't feel like you're being controlled by an algorithm, because you aren't. So I mean, I think there's a lot of good things there, but back in 2022, I had no idea about Bitcoin Twitter. So what actually happened was I saw Troy Cross on Peter McCormack's show for the first time, and he was talking about sustainability in mining. More to it than that, of course, but that was the basic idea. And I was interested in that because in Finland there's a lot of good use cases for mining, and now there's been quite a few companies that have cropped up here to actually take advantage, to mostly to use waste heat to power, to provide heat for district heating systems, which is quite a good use case, especially for
for a cold country. Yeah.
And it works in the summer too, because you still need hot water and everything. So there's some good use cases, and nuclear energy here. So anyway, but I thought about maybe kind of getting involved with that. At the time, I worked for a consulting firm that had some stuff doing with sustainability, and so I thought, okay, here's maybe a way that I could get involved. And so then I ended up just emailing Peter, and to his credit, he responded.
Oh, wow.
Within a day. I mean, this was fantastic. I mean, this is I think I do my best to read every DM, every email, whatever it is. It's not super high volume for me personally, but
It's important.
exactly. And I know, for example, Knut gets contacted by a lot more people, but it's important to respond to this stuff and just be a funnel for plebs coming into the ecosystem. And Peter got me in contact with Troy Cross right away, and Troy gave me all of these papers and sources and stuff, and gave me some other connections that were maybe doing things that were a little more aligned to what I was doing. And in the process, one of the contacts ended up saying, oh, well, are you on Twitter? Like, let's connect on Twitter. I said no, but I guess I should go check that out. And then it was like, yeah, you should. That's where everyone is. So, okay, great. So I get on Bitcoin Twitter, and it's fantastic. It's awesome. I immediately get followed by Michael Saylor and Jack Mallers and everything about 3 times, and I have to figure out that those are scammers and all this baptism by fire kind of thing. And I found a lot of Bitcoiners here in Finland as well, and that was how I found them, because it was just hard to know what to search for. Then I found the company Konsensus Network that was translating Bitcoin books into various languages, and specifically they'd been translating books into Finnish. And I speak Finnish pretty well now. I read books in Finnish, and I wanted to read Bitcoin material in Finnish just to learn the words, learn the vocabulary in this. And so I bought a whole bunch of the ebooks there. Ebooks are easier for me reading in translation personally, but physical books are still great, but it's easier to be able to look stuff up on the dictionary quite so easily. So yeah, they had all the ebooks, and so I grabbed them, and it's awesome. And then they put out a call for marketing help on Twitter. And I didn't do marketing, but I had done some podcasting before I and so I volunteered. I still had all the equipment, like basically all the equipment I have now is stuff that I brought from Canada. And so I just said to them, hey, like, is this something you're interested in? And it turns out they'd been considering a show with one of their premier authors, Knut Svanholm. And so that was pretty cool. I had been planning on attending Baltic Honey Badger myself already that year, had my ticket, all of this, because it's just a 45-minute hour flight from Helsinki to Riga. And so I knew I had to go. It had been evangelized heavily by for example, the TFTC guys, and yeah, so I just knew I had to go to that. So I was already on the schedule. But then this thing starts forming in summer of 2022. Like, let's make this show and try it out. Initially, it was going to be Nico from Konsensus and Knut together, and that was going to be the show. And the original name, Freedom Footprint Show, that kind of was all together there, and I was going to be the producer. Over time, after a couple of episodes, Nico decided to drop out of it, figured that he wasn't adding quite so much, but Knut still wanted me to basically stick around on camera and help keep things on track, which has been our dynamic basically since we started, sort of, is that I kind of
see you guys as a yin and yang, like you're perfectly balancing each other out.
Exactly, and I think we'd both agree, and I think we took that to the next level in Riga too. I mean, it was total chaos, and Knut was just absolutely awesome there. But we had so much to do that I was like kind of keeping things organized,
keeping them structured.
But yeah, totally. But we have a blast together, and we started this off 2 years ago. We made the very good choice to start it on Infinity Day, which kind of means we can mark the years by Infinity Days of this podcast and everything that we do together. So this Freedom Footprint Show has really been the way I've contributed to the Bitcoin space. And from the beginning, the entire idea has been to have these deeper conversations. And we're not there's kind of a way of describing how to bring people in. It's like a funnel. Like there's the top of the funnel where people just get their first exposures and touch points to Bitcoin, and there's some fantastic people out there in this space. An easy one for me to shout out is the two of the other Lukes in the space. We're now one of these overloaded names. Mikic and Broyles, both of them do excellent top of funnel content, and there's some of the more visible Bitcoin shows and stuff out there that are pretty accessible for newer people, and they're just trying to get in front of as many people as possible. And
they're like the amplifiers, the guys in the street with the big, like, with the, what do you call it? You know what I'm talking about? The big thing that you're talking to. What are they called?
Totally. No, sure. Like, yeah, like just out there on the street, guerrilla marketing, whatever it is. Joe Hall does a fantastic job at this as well. Tons of great people. If I haven't mentioned, there's tons of great people making content that tries to kind of attract people into Bitcoin, but that's not what we are. We want to be kind of in this layer afterwards where, yeah, you kind of got into Bitcoin and are maybe thinking about what it means philosophically, what are the implications of adopting Bitcoin, kind of thing. And that's what we are exploring. Basically, that's the layer. Like, what does it really mean to adopt Bitcoin? What are the implications of Bitcoin for the world? And when we have guests on, we want to have conversations that are kind of about, okay, tell us about what you're doing and why is it important. That's the main thing. Why is it important? If you need, I think everyone needs to be able to explain this. Why is what I'm doing important in the Bitcoin space? And we've had tons of fantastic guests, and it's always interesting to kind of approach it from this angle, and like, how is this relevant to the average Bitcoiner? What are they trying to do in the world? It's that's our angle, that's our focus. And the switch from Freedom Footprint Show to Bitcoin Infinity Show kind of reflected that basically, although Knut will describe himself as pretty much like a hardcore anarcho-capitalist, definitely Austrian economist for sure. But I'm a little more sort of tempered there. I believe in all of that from the theoretical perspective, but I think in practice there's some intermediate steps and some other things that need to happen in order to kind of get to a place of optimal freedom and all this. But we really focused on that angle for quite a long time. But now we have basically just realized that we're a little more broad. We kind of cover every angle in the Bitcoin space, and it's about what is the infinite potential of Bitcoin and how does everyone contribute to that goal. And so I think gone and given my entire TLDR here without you having a response here yet. So
no,
I'll pause here, but yeah,
it's amazing. Well, my concept of the show is kind of the storytelling of the people, right? Sharing more about how did they get where they are, how it's changed them as a person, and I love it. Like, you gave a very long response, similar to Michael Saylor, right? You ask him a question and he goes on for a tangent for like 20 minutes, but I love that, It's a much more interesting, and I think to the audience, like, they love a more detailed, like, visualized story of the person. There's some guests where I kick off the question, so where's your Bitcoin story? And it's like done in 3 minutes. And it's like, haha, now we've got 57 minutes to come up with stuff to grill it down and slowly dissect those 3 minutes. But I love it, and thanks, Luke, for breaking it down so equivalently. You can see that you are a natural born podcaster, right? Because you knew exactly how to put it out. But just to add to that, I think in your guys' case with Knut, the dimension that you have of grilling down the more philosophical and the big question of why, which I think is super important, even outside of the Bitcoin realm. Everybody should ask themselves, why am I doing what am I doing in life? Because if they would, then a lot of people wouldn't be doing the 9-to-5s, which they're doing now, and they're unhappy and depressed, and they get hooked on drugs because they can't see anything else. Like, the why is a super important question. And it can get a little bit too serious at times, but the fact that you guys bring in the humor and how you compliment each other with Knut, definitely the funniest episode ever of a Bitcoin episode is the one with Uncle Rockstar.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was just on a whole nother level. Like, that just kept me chuckling for that 1 hour 20, 1 hour 30 that it was. I usually listen to the podcast in the evening on my dog walk. I've got a beagle, so we go for like a long walk. And that episode, I was just chuckling all the way. And especially when Uncle Rockstar was getting the pin, and when Knut said he's getting something out of his pocket, I had to stop and go to the YouTube version to see what the hell's going on there. I'm sure I wasn't the only one. It was amazing. And like, I love it. Like, the fact that you guys put in that humor part, it's super important because people, no matter of what race, gender, age you are, we all share more or less the same humor. And if you put in the humor, people are so much more enticed to it. Like, because sometimes Bitcoin content can get a little bit dry, but the humor aspect, like, you oil it and juice it up perfectly. So I'm really thankful for the job that you guys are doing. And we need these different entries of, as you said, the funnels of people that are just getting everyone in. What is Bitcoin to more how is it shaping and what is it doing? So it's amazing. I would say my podcast is more on the forefront of getting people in through storytelling. I like to entice and get people because, charts and memes and numbers go up is all fun, but like most people think, oh, I'm too late for Bitcoin, and I want to show people that you're never too late for Bitcoin. Like, we are only getting started here. It's a technology of 15 years, and getting people to share how life has transformed them, even if they got in like yourself, a mere 4 or 5 years ago. You haven't been here for 15 years, right? Like some people that got in when Bitcoin was, in 2010, that were getting it for $1, or from Garrett, was it? From Anderson's faucet, when you could like do captures and get 5 Bitcoin for that, which today we're doing like for training AI for free. It's crazy, and like mixing up the different stories and telling people that you're never too late. Just get going. And apart from like Nick Carter and what Roger Ver, I haven't heard many people that say, screw this Bitcoin, I'm gonna go do my own thing. Usually when people discover it and go deeper, they're like, I'm never getting out of here. The story just goes further. So I try to kind of orange peel, or as I like to call it, orange seed people with good stories. Stories essentially are one of the oldest ways that we have exchanged messages and information as a human species. And a good Bitcoin story, I would like to think, goes a long way. So it's nice that we're complementing each other. And the fact that Peter's show, bringing up Peter, which as I see, he played a pretty vital role in your journey. The fact that what Bitcoin did, arguably, like him or not, probably the biggest Bitcoin show that there was, now officially came to an end just as of a few weeks. Even though Peter's not giving up his boxing gloves as a podcaster, he's kind of switching more to the general topic of Joe Rogan 2.0 with McCormack's show, as it's going to be called. I'm really looking forward to see what's going to happen there. And yeah, I guess after 7, close to 80 years of doing it, and 800, nearly 859 episodes that he did, like, kudos to him, like, hat off, like, he's done a huge job. And like, you get to a certain point when it's like, I need to do something else, and may that be him buying a football club, opening a coffee shop, opening a bar. Like, he's doing a lot of things, and that just shows like how Bitcoin can open up so many doors. And he's even like really considering of running for mayor of Bedford, which is like, who would have thought that, like 7 years ago, as he says, he had a very rough start, getting out of divorce, getting off drugs, like just like being like rock bottom to where he is less than a decade away. It's incredible. And, it's these type of stories where it shows that, if Peter could do it, anybody can do it. And I mean, not just Peter, but we're all going back to what you said, Luke. If we put in the why am I doing this? Being determined, putting in that quote unquote proof of work, actually working on something, dedication and consistency, which is key, right? With our podcast, we need to have that weekly episode or bi-weekly, whatever you choose. After time, like, the results come with it. Like, you shouldn't be waiting for an approval. And people tend to doubt themselves, like, oh, I'm not good enough. If you put in the work and you carry on doing it, you are going to be good enough. No matter, like, if you can't listen to your voice, or or if you think you're not up to the standard, with time you are going to make it, right, Luke? So it's that motivating factor.
Yeah. I mean, I like to put it, and actually, in Peter's final episode, him and Matt Odell were talking about kind of this exactly. Like, just lean into Bitcoin and say yes to stuff. I mean,
Say yes, yeah, correct.
That's what I did, was just started to say yes to stuff and lean in, put as much energy into this as possible. And in 2 years, I mean, I also kind of bookend my Bitcoin career in honey badgers, kind of, because it's right after this Infinity Day thing. And my first time ever meeting Bitcoiners in person was at Baltic Honey Badger 2022. It was the first time I met Knut in person, and instantly we go into this booth where him and a bunch of other authors have their books for sale, and no one had any idea what was going to happen. I guess no one had been signed up to actually, like, to run the booth to take the sales or anything. And so I just said, yeah, like I'm here, like I'll do
Love
that.
it.
And so it was like me and Knut and Daniel Prince and Jimmy Song and all this. And I mean, these are all guys that I knew who they were, listened to their content or read their books or whatever it was. But they, like, I was just a pleb. I was 100% just a pleb, but I was, there helping. And just through that, I mean, I ended up hanging out with Knut most of the weekend. And I mean, we really built our relationship through, some of these conferences and just figuring out what we're doing together. That's really brought us together for sure. And then by the next Honey Badger, we had really kind of brought things into our own. I think this is Honey Badger 2023. We'd had Prague in the middle of this, plus another conference in Bergen, Norway, which was a lot of fun, like a really last minute thing. And I don't think this one is gonna
Eric Dale's conference, no?
Exactly. Yeah. Northern Lightning, but sounds like he's not going to be doing that anymore. But it was a lot of fun, and it was fun to meet Nordic Bitcoiners. And I mean, from my part, Bergen is one of my favorite cities for the musical history and scene there. I'd been a couple of times already, even before I'd moved to Finland. I'd visited Bergen. It was just a really cool experience to get there, and it's in my neighborhood kind of thing. I feel like I have an obligation to go to these things when it's convenient and possible, and in that case it was. And so we'd had a couple more conferences together. We'd been doing the podcast for a while, and ultimately we made the decision as well to split off from the Konsensus Network channel and take it independent. The brand was sort of growing into just something that we wanted to focus on there. And I'd been doing some other work at Konsensus Network, but ultimately we decided that this was the thing I'm going to put all my energy into, and it was a good choice. Eventually you kind of had to find your thing that you're going to put a lot of energy into, and I don't think there's anything wrong with trying out a lot of different things and helping out with different people, helping out with different things,
of course.
But for me, this was the thing to focus on for sure, and it was obvious by then. And then this Honey Badger 2023 is just like we're still selling books and making the podcast, and we were recording episodes in person at this point, and that was a lot of fun, just out of an Airbnb next to the venue, and it was really cool. But then, I mean, the whole rest of that year, it was like it was surreal. The surreal just doesn't end. Like thing after thing after thing, just every moment, every conference, the podcast growing bigger, and just doing more with it all the time. So I mean, coming up to this year's Honey Badger, we'd even made a publishing company. We'd written this Bitcoin: The Inverse of Clown World book together. Originally, it was just Knut's next book, but since the ideas were all from what we'd been talking about on the podcast together, he basically invited me to just sort of bounce ideas off of and sort of be an editor kind of thing. But ultimately it was mostly his words, but we wrote them together, if that makes sense. We put the sentences together in their final form together, and so that's kind of how that book went. And we really were working on it for about 6 months, and so I mean, it's a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I'm really proud of this book. Absolutely. I think it's Knut will even describe this himself, that it's more cohesive than some of his previous books, which were sort of more just collections of essays that explore different facets of Bitcoin. But this one has a structure to it where we kind of cover the problems of the world, the problem of Clown World, and then there's sort of a middle section that gets into kind of the exploring the ideas and exploring the effects on kind of the individual of adopting Bitcoin as sort of a solution to this. And then the final few chapters are really about how Bitcoin absolutely fixes this, and adopting freedom technology fixes this, and really that the responsibility is on the individual to do these things themselves. Bitcoin doesn't fix anything on its own if there aren't people advocating for it, people adopting it. So it's Bitcoin fixes this, but really it's the individuals adopting Bitcoin that fix this, and that's I think one of the it's secretly a self-help book in disguise a little bit. But yeah, I'm really proud of this book, really proud to have been involved with it, and in the process of it, we it's not that we're self-publishing exactly, but we actually formed a publishing company to do it the right way and set up our website and everything. And so it's like we're doing self-publishing, but like a little bit more hardcore kind of thing, doing it on another level than most people would. And we've learned a lot as well. And so I think we're going to also be taking on other Bitcoin authors who we can help with, since we did the entire thing ourselves, plus our editor Mel Schilling. Shout out to Mel. But
What's the
because
publishing house called that you formed?
Lemniscape Media is the official name,
Okay.
but it's under the Bitcoin
Wow,
Infinity.
you went for a very sophisticated name, I see.
The Lemniscate is the Latin name for the infinity symbol. And
okay. There we
so
go.
it's like exactly kind of like one of these like sort of high brow whatever, like it's an alternate way of saying the same thing basically.
Nice.
So that's the official company name, but it's all under the Bitcoin Infinity brand. So you can find everything at bitcoininfinity.com. Right now that redirects to bitcoininfinitystore.com because we did this a little bit out of order, but eventually that's going to be like a sort of a larger place where it's going to showcase our shows, our book content.
Merch.
There's merchandise and other things that we're doing. It'll all be kind of from one big top page, bitcoininfinity.com. But for now, it redirects to bitcoininfinitystore.com. But anyway, so this is all to say that the last year has been crazy. At the beginning of the year, 2 years ago, I would have no idea that this would all have happened. But I'm super proud of it. I got to speak at the Noob Day at Honey Badger this year and share my story a little bit more there, just in kind of this lean in attitude. And yeah, I'm just here and I'm leaning in. This is it. Spreading the Bitcoin message through the podcast and through the books and helping Bitcoin authors and all this. Yeah, this is my, call it like the
life
guy. Exactly. So it would definitely this is the place where I'm doing my best work right now, because I mean, outside of Bitcoin, I still have a fiat job. I do cybersecurity by trade, but I could have done that in the Bitcoin space as well. Tried to do sort of my day job in Bitcoin, but this stuff has always been a passion for me as well. And so it's kind of like after I do my day job, my fiat job, it's like, yeah, I want to focus on something entirely different, and I think that balance keeps me sane. I'm not doing the same thing 24/7, but I've got a little bit of a different. I can compartmentalize the two things, so to say. And this is also something to say that I haven't fully escaped the matrix yet, so to say. I've still got a fiat job. It's still the right thing for me. It's a good job. I like it. Would one day I like to be fully in Bitcoin, 100% in Bitcoin? Absolutely, but I'm not rushing it because
you enjoy what you do.
Time. Exactly. Well, but I mean, I guess the thing is too that it's not really. There's no point in completely if you're making some money and able to stack Bitcoin and everything. There's not really much point in giving that up if you're going to have to draw down from your Bitcoin
from
stack.
Your stack.
At least until number go up far enough that all the problems.
But it makes sense. That way you withdraw 10,000 sats a month, to get by.
Exactly.
Instead of 1 million or 2 million sats a month to get by, which is a bit
even a million. If I could pay all my expenses with 1 million sats per month, I think I'd be considering retirement. But if I still have any Bitcoin after my boating accidents, there's lots of boats here in Helsinki. I'm on boats a lot, so
Well, I think Knut go spread the bug of the Navy lifestyle, his past life. So you all eventually go on a boat and lose all of our Bitcoin, unfortunately.
Yeah. We just the hardware wallet just flies out of my hands. I shouldn't be juggling my hardware wallet with my Anyway, but no. I mean, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say what you were saying with. So I was assuming that you went full time into Bitcoin, that you don't have a daytime fiat job, because I'm kind of at these crossroads at the moment myself. I launched my podcast just over a year ago, last July. I've been dedicated every Thursday. There's a new episode coming out, and my daytime job, I actually have 2 daytime jobs, and I do the podcast myself fully. There's no my yin and yang. I'm a one-man show that gets the guest, records, post-production, distribution. It's a busy time, and it's just one show a week, and then I've got 2 young daughters and a wife, so I've got many hats to wear. And my daytime jobs, they revolve in the advertising and PR world, which I've been in for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's very stale, and I don't feel like I'm dedicating the right my hour. Everybody's time is super precious, and I feel like I'm spending so much time on absolute BS stuff, but I've got mouths to feed. I'm not a bachelor. If I would be solo, be a no-brainer, leave the fiat mine, survive on pot noodles for how long it takes. That's no problemo. But having kids and getting them through, and it's a lot of dedication. So like, I'm in this crossroad. Do I leave that and go full blown into just the show? And the other thing I want to do is, I'm not just there yet with writing books. I love reading books. I start off every day and close the day off with a reading session, because that's my way to tune into the day and tune out of the day. I don't do late night sitting in front of a laptop, but I would love to do some educational stuff where I help people, buy their first non-KYC BDC, which I'm a big advocate for, staying away from sexes. Right way of storage. There's so many ways to store it, but depending on who you are, setups, single sig, multi sig, getting a node up, which I think is crucial. We need to get more people set up with nodes, and people might think it's super complicated, but you can use amazing companies like Start9 with Server One or Server Pure, where it's literally plug and play. But you need someone to show you, give you that little bit of a push. And that's what I would love to do. Wake up every day, kick off my day with a nice Bitcoin literature reading session, jump on, set up my schedule, record the show, get up on a phone with some plebs, get them. Like, that would be my fulfillment. And then by the time the kids are done with nursery, I'm full dad mode. There is no working late hours, but it's just hard. Like, I'm on the opposite spectrum, and I'd love to hear your feedback, Luke. Like, I really don't enjoy my daytime job. Like, I'm not like where you said you love what you do by the day, and it's a nice contrast. But to me, it's like, I don't dread it, but it's like, the only reason I'm doing it is to stack more for the future of my kids, which I find super important. Because if I leave the mine job, I have another source of income. Thankfully, I'm fortunate enough, I have a real estate, which brings some income. So it could more or less break even, but then I wouldn't have a monthly DCA, and I would probably have to be taking some stacks off, because as it is, you always have extra bills. You go to the doctors, you have this, the wife wants this, the kids want another scooter. Like, there's always additional costs, right? So I don't know what to do. What do you think is the right thing? Just carry on slaving away for a year or two and do it? Or what would you do if you would be in Gigi's place?
No, I mean, it's a tough choice, right? And I mean, it's not like I wouldn't love to not have a job where I'm employed by someone. Being sort of entrepreneurial, it's great. If I get that to the point where it's replacing my fiat job income, then yeah, like, the decision becomes a lot easier. And number go up makes the decision a lot easier too. But I mean, it's all about being low time preference for me. It's like, if I take the plunge and yeah, not have a DCA and not be stacking anything at all, right? Like, that's just, yeah, it's a sacrifice now to be working so hard and to not be able to be 100% doing whatever I want out of my time. But it's also like, we're not necessarily in the position to be there yet. Like, it's a sacrifice from another perspective. If you're drawing down from your Bitcoin stack, well, then you're sacrificing that in the future.
Sure.
So the time will come for me. I'm sure the time will come for you as well. And I mean, there's opportunities in the Bitcoin space too. I mean, if you, this goes for anyone. If there's something in the Bitcoin space that is an analog to what you do in the fiat world, and you can find the right company. Well, yeah, because then you'll still be working for someone, but you'll at least be working in the Bitcoin space somehow. And I mean, that's got to be more fun in a lot of ways anyway. So I mean, yeah, don't rush it is my advice to anyone kind of in your exact situation. Yeah, like, if you don't have a family, you don't have kids, of course it's a lot easier, and you can make a lot of sacrifices and not really have a lot of expenses and all this. But it's totally different when you have a family and you have other goals and other priorities and all this. So it's the time will be a lot more obvious, I think, after some number go up. And I keep saying, and my wife kind of gives me some flack for this sometimes, but I keep saying, yeah, in 5 years. It's like, but yeah, no, I promise. Like, it's a one full halving cycle plus another year. Like we'll be in bull market number 3 for us. Like, it's like, really, we'll be good then. But I mean, you can't know the future, but I have no reason to believe that we won't have kind of these cyclical things in the future. And even just, I mean, again, past performance can't predict the future, but if you hold for 4 years, you're ahead. That's basically what it is. And so yeah, I don't know if I'll wait a full 5 years, but yeah, I definitely see myself changing to being 100% Bitcoin. I mean, I could still be doing something cybersecurity related towards Bitcoin or something like that. And there's a lot of options, and you as well. I mean, like taking it down to part-time already, like that's something you could do. It's lots of options, but it depends on your exact circumstances. And yeah, it's if you rush it and you have to draw down your Bitcoin stack, maybe that's a sacrifice that's worth making for your freedom, for your flexibility, and to be able to do other things. Opportunity cost is a real thing. But yeah, just think about it seriously. Can you replace the Bitcoin that you have to sell to keep up your standard of living? That's a choice you have to make. So
it's the egg and chicken moment, because the thing that's really pushing me is my kids are growing up so fast. My eldest daughter's 4, my youngest is 2. And these are kind of the prime years where I really want to be there to, discover the world, get the right mindset. Because once they're teenagers, that window's gone. Like they find their group of friends, and then it's like these are those golden years to me. And I'm also a believer, if you do something that you love, the life will take care of you. Like maybe even if you have to go into your stash. So as you said, Luke, we're all different. We have different priorities, and as much as the goal is to stack as much as you can and hodl, like not sell in 10-20 years time goes by really fast. And especially when you have kids, it goes even faster. And like at some point it's like, do I want to just be hodling and start spending when I'm 50, or should I start using some of that stack and finding other ways? As you said, that's great advice, which I really appreciate. Finding a job, essentially my craft and what I'm good at in the old world, finding a job where I can contribute it in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So I'm actually getting a salary in that. And actually it would be even more ideal because I'd be getting paid directly in Bitcoin. I don't have to DCA from fiat and do the on-ramp, off-ramp shenanigans. And then just do the podcast, and who knows where it leads next. Because as you're a true example, the doors open up very fast. You should have that yes attitude. You should definitely, another great takeaway for listeners from this episode is go out and experience the conferences. You never know if you're going to meet your, podcast host, your business partner, your whatever it is, like there's so many businesses that are yet to be built, like the circular economy, as a lot of us like to frame it. It's like in its infancy. There's so many things that need to be set up, created, problems to be solved, that like there's endless possibilities for everyone. And it's not just techies. I'm a non-tech guy. I don't know how technical you are. Well, you are more technical, Luke, since you're a cybersecurity guy. But people think if I'm not a programmer, I can't contribute. There's so many ways that you can. And I would urge everyone to go to at least one conference, because after that, you will realize like the amount of people and the amount of value, and most importantly, signal that you're getting out of these events is endless. And you never know who you're going to meet. And in most cases, even if you don't meet your business partner or your side project hobby partner, you're going to meet so many new fellow plebs that you're going to, stay in touch and have true friendships with people that have the same values, that aren't envious of, oh, you have that, I have this. It's very liberating community where everybody's kind of on the same line. It's very linear. There's no hierarchy. Above you, I've got this many followers. Like, it's very different to the crypto conferences where it's all about everyone shilling their own thing. Oh, come buy my merch. My hats are better. My whatever is better. It's like a camaraderie. And that's what I love about the Bitcoin ecosystem. That everyone's here to help out each other. And if you ever need any help, like, same way like you are, Luke, I'm always open to anyone that approaches me. Any way I can help, any connection I can make, I'm more than happy to do so, because I know by helping someone, I'm helping myself and I'm helping the ecosystem as well, right? Because at some point in time, you never know when you'll need a favor back. Or, I'm a deep believer in karma. Like, if you treat people better than you get treated, you're going to get the same thing back, right? So instead of being that stingy guy and just, oh no, I'm not sharing my pie with anyone, my contacts, I'm all for sharing and giving people more than I receive, which I think should be a philosophy that everybody should live their life by. But yeah, I guess we're going into that 1 hour mark. I had a list of questions that I was going to ask, but that all went out the window. But that's even better, because those questions are just backups in case, as I said, it's a 3-minute Bitcoin story instead of a nice half an hour one. But I really enjoyed it. I guess I'll bring up one last question, which I close off the show with every guest. And I ask the guest to share a piece of advice that you would give to someone that's looking to get their first bag of Satoshis and essentially heard about Bitcoin, came across the podcast. What is that one or two pieces of advice you would give to someone that's essentially on the brink, on the edge of the rabbit hole at the moment?
Sure. The easiest one is get some sats. This is the easiest thing, and I think one of the easiest ways to do that now is to download the Primal app and sign up for the wallet there. You do have to light KYC, and I mean there's drawbacks to that, but I think this one is a fantastic way, because then you get access to the NOSTR ecosystem. You get zaps. People can send you some stuff. Go get on NOSTR, say hello. People will introduce you. You'll get your first zaps really quickly if you hashtag introduction or something like that. And it's just a great introduction to what the sort of the Bitcoin circular economy can look like, as you say. And I mean, like I've gotten some friends or family or whatever to download, for example, Wallet of Satoshi or Moon or whatever. Pick your app. And sent them some sats and everything, and that's all good. I don't know if they do anything with that in the future though. But with something like Primal, you're already plugged into the ecosystem. So I think Primal is a fantastic orange pilling tool now already. And for anyone listening and is sort of on the fence, my recommendation is try the Primal app and enable the wallet and get yourself on Nostr and see what it looks like to get zapped. And that's that's experience. So
I love it, Luke. You're the first one that gave advice as a first step to go down the Nostr route, to take the orange pill, purple pill, bam. As Guy Swan did the meme recently, you take both pill at once and you're just like deep flesh into the deep end. But that's so true. Like, I never thought about it. That is actually the best way to get a fellow no coiner to experience it. Instead of, I've done the same thing, Luke, as you did. Like, how many times I tipped a taxi driver or my barber, I set them up with one of Satoshi, zapped them some sats, and they're like, they have this aha moment, like, oh my God, it's amazing. But then I have no idea if they've done anything with them. Like my barber, I keep asking him, hey man, are those sats still sitting there? He's like, yeah. Like, why don't you look what to do with them? He's like, yeah, but like, I don't have time, or like, I don't know what to do. But like, I will at some point. And I just like, there's no, like, it's hard for them to take the next step. But getting set up on Primal and having that access, getting those zaps and being able to zap other people for, supporting content creators for the content they're given, it's amazing. And that's like, it feeds you to go deeper. And you've done two things. You got them to adopt Bitcoin and you got them on Nostr, which is a win-win-win to everyone. Like, that's awesome advice. I really appreciate that, Luke. So if you listeners are listening and you're still not on Nostr, go out, download the Primal app or Amethyst, or there's so many clients out there, but I'm also a big fan of Primal. I was using Damos before BTC Prague, and at the Nostr booth, I discovered Primal, my account verified, and since then it was Primal. Only recently, actually, I've tried out Amethyst, and Amethyst is like, it's nice to combine them. You don't have to be exclusive. It's not black and white, just that. Like, I would say I use them 50-50. Probably Amethyst more now, because I only started using it now, so I'm like experiencing it like in the work. Like, they're different, and just go out and experience for yourself. The beautiful thing about Nostr protocol is you just type in your NSEC and bam, you've got all your stuff there, all your notes, all the people you're following. There's no setup. There's no username, password, none of that shenanigans. It's awesome. And I love that advice.
The Primal app gives you the wallet. That's the main reason.
Okay,
so you can get both at the same time. So that's just the first thing.
So
it is a custodial
wallet.
Yeah. That's what I would recommend if someone is completely new to the entire space. But then take the purple pill as well and go explore and do what you want. And but you can easily get a wallet. It's got a Strike is the Lightning service provider, and so yeah, like you get a wallet that's backed up by like a reputable company and everything. And there's all the risks of custodialism, but like I am not. It's better than, first of all, it's better than an exchange, and something like Wallet of Satoshi is definitely better than an exchange. Primal app better than an exchange, and well, then go down the rabbit hole and eventually make the decision to move to something
to go non-custodial.
Self-sovereign, exactly. And I mean, there's plenty of options for that. Aqua Wallet, for example, is a good middle ground where you hold your keys and your sats are actually on Liquid, not in Lightning natively. So you hold the keys to that and don't have to do any channel management. And you can use regular Bitcoin as well. But tons of options to get there. And eventually the goal is get a hardware wallet and or 7 and get your setup and everything. But I'm definitely not telling anyone to go do a 5 of 7 multi-sig is their first step.
go roll some dice, create your seed phrases. And it's like, what am I rolling this dice for?
So Primal app now I think is going to be my go to. But the only thing with that is the light KYC. Unfortunately, it puts a little friction in the step, but I think it's what they need to have to actually stay on like the app stores and stuff. So Wallet of Satoshi maybe is a little bit easier, but for someone with just like 2 minutes, Primal is great. So that's my recommendation these days.
Amazing. Well, there you have it, guys. If you haven't yet, go to NOSTR, go to your App Store or Apple or Google Play Store and type in Primal, download it, set it up, and enjoy both worlds, the purple and the orange pill world. And yeah, Luke, I would like to thank you so much for taking the time and jumping on. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did more or less minimal talking, but this show's not about Gigi, it's about the guests and their stories. You did a fantastic job. Once again, congratulations on the book. I am sure you and Knut will be releasing more as the clown world unravels and goes on a hyperbolic road. And yeah, I mean, all the best with everything that you're doing, of course, with the show. I mean, I see you going a very far way in what you're doing, Luke, and I support you in any way I can help. I'm more than happy to do so. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me at any point. Your Bitcoin journey and our Bitcoin journey is only getting started, so we will for sure have you back in the future as the stories unravel. Would love to hear how things are going and what new things you're working on. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you, if not sooner than next summer in Prague at BTC Prague, because I think that we will definitely both be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks a lot again. And I guess the last thing is, where can we send our followers to follow you and your journey online? What's the best options to follow you?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gigi, and right back at you. By the way, we need people spreading the message and spreading the signal in whatever way. And so yeah, good on you, and keep doing what you're doing as well. So
thanks, man.
Yeah, and for me, I'm at Luke the Wolf at all handles. You can pretty much find me there. I'm still on X. I used to be pseudonymous, but now I've gone all in with my full KYC. You got me. I'm all in. So you can find me on. I'm still on Twitter, but I'm really not active as much anymore. NOSTR is the best place to find me. Primal.net/Luke. So I've got that real estate locked up. So
nice.
I'm pretty proud of that one. And then all the other stuff, BitcoinInfinity.com, BitcoinInfinityShow.com as well. But the Bitcoin Infinity Show, Bitcoin Infinity anything, it's probably us. So.
Amazing. There you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. You learned something. You got inspired. If you have any questions or want to reach out to Luke, feel free, or myself. Our inboxes are always open, and we definitely do. I also try to respond to every single message, no matter where it comes from, because it's important to give that help and give the support, no matter what stage pleb you are or person. We're all equal. We're all in this together. So stay humble, stack sats, and see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, I would highly appreciate it if you could boost, rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. It would greatly help us spread these incredible stories and the message of Bitcoin freedom. Also, feel free to reach out to me and follow our social media accounts on X, NOSTR, YouTube, TikTok. I appreciate all of your support, and make sure to tune in next Thursday for the next episode. Thanks for listening, and remember to stack sats and stay humble.